Let's talk about the NBA. The All-Star game is behind us now, and even though it's not the halfway point, we've far surpassed that. This is the stretch run now in the NBA. So who's going to make the tweaks that they're going to need to make to get them home? Let's bring back Chris Broussard. He is senior writer for ESPN, the magazine. And let's start at the top. The Spurs, boy, this team, for doing what they've done in the first half, they're just still somehow under the radar. What changes, if any, will Pop need to make in the second half?
Well, Greg Popovich prefers a little adversity during the regular season. You know, he thinks that makes a team stronger in the playoffs. But there's been no adversity for them. Now, you can't manufacture it. So what he wants to do early in the season, he was harping on their defense. Even though they were beating everybody, they weren't playing great defense. Then the last 2 months, they've played really good defense, so they've improved there. You can't cut guys' minutes because nobody's playing 33 minutes a game.
Right.
You know, Ginobili, Duncan, Tony Parker, they're all getting adequate rest. So what Popovich is going to focus on is just don't get complacent. Focus on the little things here and there. Keep his team sharp. I mean, you can't, have your team lose just because you want a little adversity. So I don't think he ever envisioned winning like this, but he'll keep it going and just make sure they're sharp.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you don't need adversity. Just go out there and play basketball. They've done that. All right, the Celtics now percentage points ahead of the Heat. So clearly Miami is closing, but Boston is still in the driver's seat. Are they the team to beat in your mind?
Without question. In the East, they're definitely the team to beat. They look to me, even though the Spurs have the best record, as the best team in the league. Now, just like the Spurs and to a lesser degree the Lakers, age is always going to have to be at least in the back of people's minds when looking at this Celtics team. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal, it's not just injured, he's old. That's going to be a factor. Jermaine O'Neal, I don't think you're going to get anything from him. He's not playing right now. I don't know that you're going to be able to count on him in the playoffs. So age is a factor, but remember, they've got Delonte West coming back, who only played 5 games thus far. So they'll be strong as long as they can stay healthy and these guys don't start getting weary legs later in the season. They should be fine.
Let's talk about the Heat. The number we keep hearing, 1-4 against the teams that they're probably going to have to beat in the Eastern Conference Finals, either the Bulls or the Celtics. How concerned should Miami be with that stat, 1-4?
I think they should be very concerned. And what they need to focus on in the second half of the season is offensive execution. They're beating these mediocre teams with just sheer talent. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, they go off. They've got too much talent for these teams, and they can beat them with poor execution. They also get out in transition against those teams a lot better. But against the Bulls, against the Celtics, against Dallas, who they're 0-2 against, all those teams are great defensively. They stop the Heat from running, and then they pack it in the paint defensively, and they force the Heat to execute. You don't just freelance. You can't just have LeBron and Dwayne go off individually. So the Heat need to have better execution over the second half of the season. That's what I would focus on if I was their exposure, because their defense is fine, but they need to execute better down the stretch and against these good teams if they want to beat them in the playoffs.
All right, we've done the Spurs, the Celtics, the Heat. We've got to talk about the Lakers. 8-8 over their last 16. Their last 3 have been ugly indeed, including the loss at Cleveland. What's their biggest concern now heading into the stretch?
Well, assuming they don't make any significant trades, which they probably won't, they want to get these guys on the same page, offensively in one hand, because you watch the Lakers, one night they're jacking up 23-pointers. The next night, Kobe's taking 27 shots. The next night, they're playing inside out, going through Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum. They have to be more consistent on the offensive end, and I think play inside out regularly, and then, determine what type of team they are. Defensively, they also need help. And if you get Bynum and Gasol involved more offensively, their defense will probably pick up, because Derek Fisher is going to get beat at times on the perimeter. So those two have to really, back them up in the paint. And I think they'll do that as they get more touches on the offensive end.
Should be an entertaining finish to the NBA season, and we know the postseason is always lots of fun. Yep. Chris Broussard with a look at the stretch run for the NBA teams. Chris, thanks. We appreciate it.